Welcome to Own the Chaos.
Chaos Crew.
The stock market is crazy and chaotic.
And then there's the Kronos Group. Yes, people, how could I not have a pot stock on this list?
Brad and Fat Man Zoom are here to help you own it.
All right, we got the top stocks to buy if Kanye wins the presidency.
Taking it to the suits, being relatable and hilarious.
That is crazy.
We have a nice super boner, quite a lovely green one.
Over $31.
We have a nice super boner.
Stock Watch Sunday, here we are. What's up, people? It is a B. Smith right here. It is Fat Man Zoom right there. And man, we got a show. I hope, you know what I am? I'm always nervous when I just hop right into it and go crazy because I'm always nervous that the audio is going to do what it does.
Oh yeah, robot voice.
But anyways, hopefully I nailed that. Hopefully we sound great. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Stock Watch Sunday. Welcome to Own the Chaos. The stock market is crazy and chaotic. We made it our mission to help you own it, and we have got some really awesome things going on for tonight. Really great things going on this week that we really want to talk about. Can't wait to do so. But first off, Fat Man Zoom, how was your weekend, man?
Had a great weekend. It actually was my daughter's birthday celebration. She wanted to get on YouTube, so we bought her stock, and we actually did her first official YouTube video, Mini Zoom. She named herself Mini Zoom.
Which is awesome. Which is awesome.
She bought Lululemon share, if anybody wants to know.
Yeah, I was, we were talking about this earlier last week. I was wondering what would happen if she decided to choose something like Amazon. What the answer would be.
Bro, from here on out, it's a budget. I'm giving her 3 options and that's it. But it's crazy because she learned how to chart. So I'm teaching her how to chart. So she's starting to learn how to chart. And for a 7-year-old, man, she's picking it up quickly. So she just wants to teach. She wants to get into kids stocks. So teach kids how to pick stocks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. Listen, man, the earlier you start them, the better.
Yes.
And we know that time is your best friend in this business. So I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. She's already like a natural entrepreneur, and she looked like she's pretty natural on camera too. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
So great weekend. This week, a lot of stuff going on. I mean, more stuff than we can even go over. And we'll talk about the live streams we have this week, but I'm looking forward to all the live streams this week. Pretty much every day there's something going on, and we're even going to be doing some extra content this week. So we're going to be busy for y'all.
Yeah, we see a lot of questions in here already about the Airbnb IPO. DoorDash is also going to be publicly traded this week as well. And so we are going to get into that really in depth. We could probably answer a few questions for you tonight if you want to, but we're really going to save some of those main topics for some of the other stuff that's going on this week. Today, we felt as if the biggest topic to talk about was going to be stimulus because it's going to affect the entire market. Right now, futures are a bit of a whipsaw. I mean, we're up around 200 points. Now Dow's actually down 3 points, looks like. Everything's pretty flat. It was a pretty weird movement here in futures so far, but we will be getting to a lot of that other stuff. Tonight's, though, the main topic is going to be on stimulus. Tomorrow, we're supposed to be hearing about how that might be moving along. There seems to be one hang-up, and one major hang-up is the $1,200 checks that's supposed to go out to folks like it did last time. Some people in Congress are wondering why it's not just rolled into this one. Joe Biden's come out and said that he would rather it be rolled into this one, but it will be. People will be getting a $1,200 check. So that seems to be the big hang up. I don't know. There's always something with this. I just don't want people to get their hopes up. If it happens, it happens. And I think that it will happen before the end of the year, but I'm not holding my breath on that.
So my question to you is, do you think as we hear news about it, and we hear rumors, this isn't going to be where it just drops. It's going to be, hey, we're close.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not close.
Right.
Going back and forth.
Same BS we've been doing for months.
Yeah. It's the deal's off. No, it's back on.
Right.
Do you think that they've done so much of that the market will essentially be immune to it, and it's just going to have to, the deal is just going to have to be done for it actually for the market to respond. So I can't speak.
No, you're good. No, I think so. I mean, how many times are we going to cry wolf before people just stop believing you? You know, and I will say that this is the first time that it seems as if it's been a pretty bipartisan effort so far. But you know, again, anything can happen. And I'm like, and you know, I kind of like in the beginning of this conversation, I said, I'm not holding my breath. And I think that that's probably the general sentiment among all investors and everybody in the stock market. It's like, well, when it happens, we'll celebrate, but right now it's just not. And I think I don't know. Frustrations are certainly frustrations and tensions are certainly high, especially in small business. I don't know if you've seen some of the stories coming out in smaller businesses, and I'm sure that you probably have your own with some of the small businesses around your area, but it's tough right now and people are getting angry. And I think that they need to come up with something sooner rather than later, which brings me to my next point. How does that affect you as the investor? For me personally, there's not an ounce of me that wants to be out of this market. And if you are still have a ton of cash on hand, if it were me and if I were you, I would probably look to try to work yourself into some of the stocks that you trust the most. I'm not saying that you have to go in and go buy some speculative stocks or anything like that. But if you have like 50, 75% of your portfolio in cash, I just don't know if I'd want to be out of the market in case we do get that stimulus news, because I think we'll see a pretty decent pop off if that happens.
Yeah. Here's what to think about. So we talked about how once sort of the election dust settled, this was going to be the next topic.
Yeah.
And it's kind of played out in that way where it's the focus.
Right.
And it's going to be the focus until the deal is done. I think it has to be done before the holidays. I think there's just too much external pressure, to your point about the small business.
Yeah.
But beyond that, just holiday shopping, the people need a win. And I think the politicians know that people are starting to get fed up with it. Here's a key date, January 3rd. January 3rd, Congress goes into recess. So like it has to be done January 3rd. And so for them to actually make the deal, it makes all the sense in the world that it has to be done before Christmas.
Yeah.
So I think essentially they have 2 weeks to get this deal done. I don't see how they won't get it done. Like, there's just really no way that it's going to be, I don't know. There's just no way you can get, I'm sure there's going to be some posturing, but I believe they're going to find a way. And definitely not, it has to be before January 3rd. I don't know how politicians can go into the holidays in good faith and do that now. I know people have their opinions, but I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you just have a realistic approach, I would agree with you. I think that it just has to. When you think about small businesses and how they survive, well, they survive because, you know, people spend money. And if they don't have any money to spend, well, then the small businesses aren't going to survive all that long either. So, you know, the bill is just under $1 trillion. They say that this is a preliminary bill, like there's going to be more coming, but we'll see about that. But nevertheless, I just would not want to be out of the market in case we hear some good news, and it really could happen at any time. So, you know, if you're worried about what stocks to be in my opinion, I would just go after some of the mainstays, ones that you can really count on, you know, your Apples, Amazons, those types of stocks that you really want to hang your hat on and that you have been hanging your hat on all this time, continue to put money in there. I just would not want to be out of the market at all.
Yeah. And sort of off topic, going to give a shout out to Gus Red Bear. So Gus asked about explaining the Santa Claus rally and the January effect.
Yeah.
And I know we've already talked about it. I'm thinking maybe we should do like a member video on that, because that's pretty much an every year thing, right?
Yeah.
The Santa Claus rally.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, you know, if stimulus does not go through, that Santa Claus rally could be stunted or just not happen at all, which would be tough. But yeah, we definitely should talk about that as far as a members video. Speaking of which, if you guys are curious about the members video that we're talking about, that is part of the Chaos Crew. If you guys hit the join button next to subscribe, or if you can't find it there, there's also a link in the description. The Chaos Crew is a channel membership where you get a daily watch list from us, plus private live streams and videos as well, and then access to our Webull portfolio too. So if you guys want to be a part of that, it's $4.99 a month. You can't beat it. It's an extremely incredible value. We also have a contest, a raffle, whatever you want to call it, coming up here. We're getting ready to eclipse 1,000 members within the Chaos Crew, and it's been pretty awesome. we want to say thank you in a special way. Fat Man Zoom, what do we got planned for him?
I mean, the best way to say thank you is to buy you something, and the best stock to buy you is Tesla.
That's right.
We're going to buy you a share of Tesla. Once we hit 1,000, the following Stock Watch Sunday, we're going to do a raffle. We're going to pick one member that is currently in the crew, and we're going to give them a share of Tesla.
It's going to be awesome. We can't thank you guys enough. For those of you who are in the crew that supported this channel, we're getting ready to move into our new studio. We could not have been able to do that without you guys, your guys' support. So we definitely thank you for that. And yeah, if you guys want to sign up for that, become part of that and get entered into win your free Tesla share, make sure you're hitting that join button. We'd love to have you guys. All right. So moving on. Our top 5 stocks for this week. Fat Man Zoom, I think we got some really special ones coming up here. For me, my first one this week is going to be CGC. Now, we haven't talked about the MORE Act a whole lot on this channel. We've talked about it here and there, but haven't really gone that in depth. We're going to be doing that later on this week. So make sure you're staying tuned. Make sure you're hitting that notification bell, subscribe, all that good stuff, because we're going to be talking about the MORE Act later on this week. And for me, there is no better marijuana stock or MJ stock to be in other than CGC. Canopy Growth is the biggest company as it relates to marijuana. They also have a pending merger. Once things finally get passed, the MORE Act already just passed through the House. We're waiting for the Senate. This is a semi-bipartisan deal. There are Republicans that are in favor of this. There are ones that are not, but it's obviously heavily weighted on the Democratic side. But there are Republicans that are in favor of this and even leading the way on the MORE Act as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds through the Senate. But if it passes through the Senate, there is no other stock that I would want to be in as far as marijuana stocks are concerned than CGC. You can bring up the Aurora Cannabises. You can bring up all the other small penny stocks that are related to cannabis. But the thing of it is that they are all ridiculously heavy in debt. They still have a lot to get through. And so for me, with CGC, they got so much other things going on. I just mentioned the potential merger that they have. And the other thing that they have also is that they have really good, solid companies investing in them. Constellation Brands invested $1.3 billion, and that's how much they have in cash. There's no other cannabis company that has that kind of power and that could actually move in the market once things finally become decriminalized and can be, sold and bought legally in the U.S. Now, here's the other thing. If we do see things pass through the Senate, we're not out of the woods yet. There's still a long road to go as far as CGC is concerned. But I think, in my opinion, we go here and look in the chart, under $30 on CGC is definitely worth buying some up. I think that you're going to have to understand that there might be some volatility here. But if we see some sort of positive news come out of the Senate, especially with this MORE Act, I think that we're going to see a really nice move out of CGC. And honestly, when you're in some of these other weak companies, the cause for concern for me is offerings and dilution, all that good stuff. And so if you see a positive catalyst, that is those types of companies are just going to be licking their chops to really kind of start dumping stock. So there isn't another cannabis company, maybe Grow. Ticker symbol GRO would be another one that I probably would consider being in, but that's it. CGC, Grow, these two could see a really nice pop if we get some good news from the Senate as far as the MORE Act is concerned.
Yeah, and real quick, I just want to welcome Kambiz Ahmadi to the crew and Chris Reed to the crew. Welcome to the Chaos Crew. Yeah, man, I agree with you. Not too much to add here. I know a lot of people are going to bring up Aurora Cannabis. We've stuck with CGC. We've stayed by CGC. The only thing I want to reiterate to people is I think it's positive for Biden administration. It was one of our top stocks for Biden. However, as we said then, be patient with it because there's a lot of other there's other things that take priority. And so it may be a bit bumpy at the beginning of the year. So it's going to take time before I think that even sort of comes to fruition as far as Biden. I could be wrong, but I think if I think it impresses the importance of making your strategy clear. And the other reason why the strategy's got to be clear both ways. If you want to add on, if you want to scale in,
right. But
the other thing is when this thing happens, these are the type of stocks and plays that you have to understand your strategy because even if, especially when it moves up, the greed takes over. Yep. If you don't have a strategy, you're going to get stuck. You could potentially get stuck holding the bag because you're like getting greedy. and it drops. So I would decide, hey, what am I happy with? And you always talk about it. Maybe trimming some, letting some run. If you still want to take advantage of it, cool. Leave some on the table, but take some profits when that run happens. We'll remind you guys of this, and I think it's going to be some time before it's a massive run. But that is my one piece of advice: is have your strategy. If it runs up, and just be okay with it. If it runs without you, keep a couple shares on the table, make some extra profits, and just let it go as long as it wants to run. But don't just get stuck in it. I feel like we're going to have a lot of people who are just going to get greedy and be like, oh, I'm going to try to make more and more money.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. What's the next one you got for me?
For number 2, I have Pfizer. So this is another one that we're going to talk about. It's important because Thursday is a key date for Pfizer. So Tuesday, our live stream is at 2 p.m. Eastern time. That's where we're going to go over the MORE Act, and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about weed stocks and cannabis growth. Thursday, we're going to be talking about vaccine. And that day is actually when the FDA is meeting, and they're going to make a decision and vote on the emergency use authorization that Pfizer and Biogen had applied for. So this is a big day for Pfizer. So Pfizer's on the board for me as a top stock this week. I like it this week. I think there's opportunity for it to move. I believe it's going to get passed. And actually, the VP of the FDA said that if it gets passed, it could be put into effect as soon as the next day. So this could be a quick mover. And I don't think this is one that you can buy Pfizer on the news. I think it's just going to be gone by that time. So if you're thinking about getting in a position, I think it's fair to get in. Understand there's risk if it doesn't get approved, but I think I don't think it would have been put forth if they didn't have sort of a sense that it would get approved. I think UK is sort of taking the lead. And if we know about the US and international relations, we don't like to be second.
Right.
So I'm not saying that they're going to do anything dumb, but like, we're going to push this thing through. We're going to make it happen. And so I very well expect it to go through. They're going to vote in the afternoon. It's an all day thing. But we should know before the markets close if this going through. So Pfizer is my number 2.
Yeah, let me ask you your thoughts on this. Now, it's gapped up considerably from its $35 range on multiple days. Do you think there's any part of this that's pre-baked into that? Just because people are possibly assuming that, well, if UK is getting it distributed there, that how can the FDA not approve this?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. However, I think that the fact that I think the distribution is another level.
Yeah.
And I think because we've wanted it so badly. And if you actually pull the chart out further, it could go to 44, 45. I mean, you're talking about pretty far back, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's happened. But I think that's a fair point. I think it's a point, another argument. We always talk about scaling in. But I think this is potentially the exception to the rule, because I don't think people, if it would move if it actually does get distributed on Friday. I don't think just the approval. I think people need to hear the date, and I think it needs to actually be distributed for it to move.
Yeah, I mean, and I kind of agree too. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that and just kind of not necessarily play devil's advocate, but just get some people thinking about that same question too. I'm looking at this and seeing good support at $39. I think that's probably an appropriate area to potentially start scaling in on. If this happens to break up over $41 though, that's when we'll probably start to see that move towards those $45 highs, which we haven't seen since 2018. So this should be a really nice mover, Pfizer, as long as we don't get any stock dumping from C-level execs like we have in the past. So make sure you're keeping your eye on that as well. But this should be a great day for a great week for Pfizer and really for America. I mean, people have been dying for this. I don't want to say it like that, but people really been wanting this, wanting this vaccine. So, God.
Hey, let me just add real quick, because Tan said, should have listened to Brad's watch list today with CVS. If you are worried about the move of being made on Pfizer, I wouldn't fear all-time highs. And I know some people are saying, you go, somebody said 10 years back, it was 42, whatever. Well, we haven't really seen anything like COVID either.
Right,
so I think this is something a little different, but there are other stocks we've talked about. Join the crew. We'll be talking about them as well, because we actually prefer the other vaccine plays, and they're going to benefit just as much. So CVS, yeah, that's one we've been talking about for a while.
Yeah,
but
Rite
there's
Aid.
other plays as well, and maybe that's something we'll talk about on Thursday.
Yeah, I would not be afraid of CVS highs or Rite Aid's highs for that matter. I think that those are, it's still not too late to get into either one of those, in my opinion, as well. All right, so the next one that I'm getting into this week, or that I could potentially be getting into that I'm watching very closely, is Restoration Hardware. Ticker symbol RH. Their earnings are on Wednesday, the 9th, after hours. Their estimated earnings per share are at $5.23, which is an absolutely insane number for Restoration Hardware. I think they beat it. I have them coming in at $5.45. The consensus calls for them at $5.25, like I was saying. The prior quarter, it was $2.79. That's quite a jump, but need I remind you, we have seen real estate sales that we haven't seen since 2007. We talked about Rocket. For whatever reason, Rocket's just still not moving. But a lot of the other home sale related stocks have just been absolutely insane. And Restoration Hardware, more or less a furniture company. They do a couple of other things, but that's their bread and butter. You're buying a new house, you need new furniture, especially if you're moving out into the suburbs. Maybe you're moving into a bigger home versus living in the city in a smaller apartment or smaller condo, what have you. And so if you're moving into a larger house in the burbs, you're going to need furniture, and that's where Restoration Hardware comes in. I think that, while there's been reports and headlines of that, how home sales have been slowing down. Well, no kidding. It's December, people. Let's look at this from 30,000 feet and look at it from last December and the December before that, not comparing it to last August. You look at this December and it's still nothing even, and even November, it blows last November out of the water all the way, like I said, all the way back to 2007. So with Restoration Hardware, it is still up considerably. And this is another situation where I don't think that Restoration Hardware is too high. I know that it seems as if perhaps this has just gone absolutely crazy, but $500 a share does not seem out of reach for Restoration Hardware. And I think it continues to go up from here, especially if we see some sort of surprise earnings. I don't think anybody's expecting a miss or that they won't beat, but I think it's just by how much. And I think that's what's really going to get this thing moving.
Yeah, this is one of the best companies. If you guys have ever been in Restoration Hardware in New York City, if you're ever in New York City, go there. It's incredible. But here's why. You look at Wayfair, you look at Overstock, same sentiment. I'll tell you a quick story. So with the office, we're going to the local furniture shop called Sukasa in the neighborhood.
Yep.
And so when I was talking to them, they were talking about supplying furniture, and they're like, listen, we're crushing it. They have 4 locations. They said, if we order something today, it won't arrive till February at the soonest. And so this is a local place, right?
Yep.
And so you're talking about Restoration Hardware, who's got a lot more volume, more customers, more opportunity. They've got this supply issue, right? And demand is so high that even if the vaccine comes back, I don't care.
Yeah.
This, for the next 2 quarters, people are going to still be getting product. So for me, that just further proves that this isn't going away. It wasn't just sort of a one-time Rona deal. I think we can continue to see this, and we're going to continue to see home buying, which you see furnishing. So I like this call. It's a great call. My number for that, I pulled at actually a little slightly higher than yours, $5.49 was my prediction for that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that it might sound crazy to think that we're projecting a beat even higher than 525 that or 525 that analysts are calling out for, but we just think that this is just absolutely insane. When you look at this, it's been going crazy. So you ask yourself, where do I get in? How do I do this? Usually I would find a really solid support and say, hey, wait for this to come back. You'll be fine. But the thing of it is here is that this is an instance where I'm like, don't be afraid to buy in at all-time high and scale in. Don't just bet the farm. Take a position size that you'd like to get into something like RH and buy in chunks at a time, because I do think that this just keeps going higher. I don't know if we see a significant pullback out of RH, at least before earnings. And then after earnings, I think we probably still see a continued run from there. So that is Restoration Hardware. What's the next one you got for me, my man?
All right, let me shout out Jesse Foy. Welcome to the crew. Welcome to Level 1. And I got to do this. We had a donation. Our producer said we don't have to worry about this, but it's hilarious. The donation. Thanks for the donation, Ramet Ima Asul. Looks like asshole. Hilarious. Pornhub buy or sell. It put the ticker and I didn't realize it at first, and then I went back. Pornhub's always a buy, friend. You kidding me?
Yeah, it's always a buy.
That was hilarious. All right, so number 4.
I just went back and looked at it, and I'm just dying.
I didn't notice the ticker. I looked at the ticker first, didn't pay attention.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
All right, so
I love our community. I swear to God.
Yeah, full account, all in. All right, number 4 is MGM. So MGM, we actually just did a video on bargain stocks, and MGM was on there, but I think it's important to bring it back up, to continue to bring it back up. So if you guys want to check out that video, basically we give a list of, I believe we did 10 stocks that basically have 40% plus move to run. So it's a great video to watch. It's still very relevant. So check it out. MGM is on my list for a few reasons. We've always loved MGM since below 20. We've been calling it out. We took a bit of a break on it and had brought it back in the past couple of weeks. There's been a move. I don't think it's done. And everybody's asking about what's a good vaccine play. I think this is a great vaccine play. I think that MGM is a great vaccine play. Any of the casinos really, but the reason why we love MGM for a few reasons. One, their balance sheet. They have the best balance sheet. They have cash on hand. We talked last live stream about 700 million in capital that they raised. So basically MGM Properties, which is a spinoff of MGM, they had some equity in it that they traded in, that they essentially sold for cash. They've always been really good about their P&Ls, smart move. And so I'm not worried about them from a financial perspective. They can last this. They will last this, outlast this.
Oh yeah.
So that's number 1, cash, not an issue. The other thing is that their exposure to Macau, which is in China. And if you think it's about Vegas, it's not. Macau is essentially the Las Vegas of Asia, but on steroids. And so again, I think the fundamental mistake that people make is they wait for things to happen. You have to be ahead of it. And when you talk to people and they're like, well, why would you get into MGM? Casinos aren't opening. Well, you don't wait till they open, and now's the time. So we've seen that Europe and Asia are a little bit ahead of us in the cycle. So China should come back. So Macau should come back before Vegas comes back, I would imagine. And if it comes back, MGM is going to be a huge beneficiary. And for all the reasons we love Penn are the same reasons that we should be excited about MGM.
Yep.
Online gaming, BetMGM is their platform. If I was looking at any of the casinos that are trying to get into the online gaming space, I don't think anybody's going to outdo Barstool. But if you said to pick one, I would say MGM's the one. So you just hedge on multiple levels that I really like. And I think that MGM is going to be a key beneficiary. And I think it has a lot more room to run. This is only the beginning of the story for MGM. So great vaccine play, great online play for the next year. We got 10 more states coming. We got Michigan about to be announced by the end of the year, possibly Pennsylvania. MGM will add this year.
Yep.
All that stuff bodes well for the company.
It's going to be great. And I mean, we're looking at a pivotal resistance here on the daily chart. I have it pulled up here and I'm looking at $30.72 is where it closed at. We're right there. If this by some chance ends up breaking over this and gapping up to perhaps over $31, we should start to see this move back towards those pre-Rona highs. And honestly, I think that we start seeing, the FDA approvals and that sort of thing. MGM is going to be one of those epicenter type stocks that we've kind of talked about that have been beaten down so much and haven't really recovered. This is something that I think is going to go right well above $35 a share if we start getting some really positive news as far as dispersion is concerned on the vaccine. People are going to be a lot more happier about this, and even stimulus as well. I mean, MGM's benefited from the stimulus too, and so we think that those two catalysts could also be something that just propels MGM, and their balance sheet's just amazing. For me, mine is going to be Adobe here. This is one that also has earnings after hours on Wednesday, and their earnings come in, their estimated earnings per share come in at 266. My estimated earnings per share is at 280. I think they beat them handily. When you think of three simple letters, PDF, the first thing that comes to your mind is Adobe. And nobody's been using PDFs more than now because of the Rona and because of remote work, all that good stuff. Cloud computing has also been at the forefront of Adobe services for the past decade. So when you're starting to see these cloud computing services come out of the woodwork, and granted, we like a lot of them. Your Fastly's, CrowdStrike's, those types of stocks, but Adobe's been around forever. And yes, it's priced at $486. It's going higher. I think in 2021, we could see Adobe getting as high as $600 a share because of all the things that they have coming down the pipe for them when it comes to not just cloud computing, but all the other solutions that they can provide for the remote worker and for the remote business or businesses that are converting to remote work. We just saw how DocuSign absolutely obliterated earnings, and the reaction that we got from there. I think that we see something similar from Adobe, and I think that they crush earnings this week.
$600 a share. That's the bold prediction.
In 2021, yep.
Woo. Okay. Nice. I like that. I love Adobe. I don't think people realize how great it is for people in that industry, and they pivoted a few years back, and we talked about this. We brought up Adobe a couple of months ago, and we talked about sort of their cloud services, and they pivoted. I mean, it might have been 5 or 6 years ago, and it just timed perfectly where they didn't need to do anything for this Corona situation. So I like that call. I think it's a great call. We talked a little bit about they're a sleeper, maybe on the outside for video conferencing, but they have no competition. Right. I mean, Canva is maybe their only competition, maybe. And you could make an argument for Microsoft, but Microsoft has bigger fish to fry. Oh yeah. I don't think they care too much about that space, the digital design / whatever file space. So like Adobe, great stock, good call. Yeah, leading up to earnings here, I think that we see a resistance at around $500 a share. I think it's a mental resistance, but you can look on the chart and see that it's actually a physical one too. If you're looking for a potential pullback, I like it maybe perhaps around 470. I doubt we see that though, especially leading into this week with all the good catalysts that we have going on in the market overall. But if by some chance we see this pullback down to 470, definitely we'll be looking to scoop some up there. And if we see a break up over $500 a share, we should see a really nice continued run out of Adobe, especially if we see them beat. And that what was your numbers? Oh, for my estimated earnings per share, the consensus is 266. My estimated earnings per share were at 280. 280. Okay. I'm doing the Steve King special. 269, baby. Book it. There you have it, guys. That is the top stocks we are watching this week. If you like this list, make sure that you're hitting that join button and become part of the Chaos Crew. You get a list like this every single day via the community tab within our Chaos Crew community. We'd love to be able to have you guys over there. And anything else from you, Fat Man Zoom, as far as that's concerned? No, that's it, man. All right. So here we go. Our favorite part of the night. We want to hear from you. Give us some questions, some things that you're looking for, and put them in the chats. We have some that we're probably going to be addressing here, but I also want to address one more thing, and that is the Cheesecloth condom stock pick of the week. Usually I am well unprepared for that because I always forget about it. This week I am not. Now, if you guys don't know what the Cheesecloth condom pick of the week is, it's a stock that I picked that everybody's falling over to buy, but it's about as reliable as a cheesecloth condom. And this week it is going to be Aurora Cannabis. We just kind of mentioned it a little bit when we were talking about CGC. Everybody and their mother has been buying this thing up, and I just don't understand the allure here. Time and time again, Aurora Cannabis screws its investors over because of the amount of debt that they have. They have over $30 million in convertible debt. God knows what they're going to be doing if they come out with an offering of some sort. But you can bet that if we see something come from the Senate, that they are going to start dumping stock like they've never dumped before. You can see, how they've gone through reverse split after reverse split, and the only reason they do that is so that they can stay on NASDAQ and just continue to dilute. They'll dilute this thing down to below $1. And then get themselves potentially in trouble with, the SEC or NASDAQ to be delisted. And then they'll just put out another reverse split and do the process all over again. This is something that you just have to really be careful with. And this is why we're talking about CGC just really being the one, because Aurora, all the other ones, they're all in the same boat. They all have debt up to their eyeballs, and they're just dumping stock like crazy so they can stay afloat somehow until things get legalized. So one part of me wants to be a part of this. Nikola was also on the list, but people have finally started to sell that. And then also Tops.
I saw Top Ships was one of the top traded stocks this week. So, Aurora Cannabis takes the cake, but those two were close second and third.
Yeah. Awesome. So let me explain how the questions are going to go. So we'll start getting into the questions. And what I'm going to need is we've already gotten a bunch submitted, so this may actually cover us, but ask your questions, give us some context. Don't just call it a ticker. Tell us, are you in it, not in it, why you like it, price points. And our real goal is to really get you to a point where you're making decisions and you're just double checking with us, or you're just asking perspective. You really need to be comfortable with your decisions. And we want to make sure that you have an understanding of both sides and you can make a proper decision. So you ready for the questions, bro?
In just 1 second, I see that we have over 500 folks in here watching, and we got 117 likes, and that's kind of.
We got a new member too,
and we got a bunch of new members. I see Juju Jax, and is that GMNV? Welcome to the Chaos Crew. Happy to have you guys over here. So if you guys could hit that like button, help support us a little bit more, we certainly would appreciate it. Fat Man Zoom, what's your first question?
Shaheen Shigani. Okay, this is for me actually. What platform are you using for your daughter's stocks? Was looking in to get my daughters started. I think this is actually, as I do this, because it's more for fun, I think I'm going to realize that there are more and more people that are interested in this. So I'm using E-Trade, and there's no reason other than it was a platform that I had, honestly, I had been using on the side.
Yeah.
And I got it a few years ago. I don't mind it. It's fine. I would suggest, though, whatever platform you use, so E-Trade's cool, Charles Schwab's a good one. I would suggest two things. Don't use your phone. Don't do a platform that's on your phone, because you want your kids to be a part of it. And I think you want it to be it's more serious if it's a computer. You can go through charting and you can have them play with it. And they're not asking to check your phone all the time. The other thing I think you need to think about is don't use a platform that is your main trading platform. Use something that you don't look at, you're not into, and you're not always like right there. That would just be my stipulations. But to answer your question, I'm using E-Trade and I'm happy with it. It's fine.
Cool.
Matthew Hears, please look at GIX merging with UpHealth, a new telehealth platform, ticker symbol GIX.
GIX, Gig Capital here. So telehealth is obviously a big deal. This is sitting at 1024. It looks like it just started trading not long ago. The one thing that I would be careful with this is, the fact that it's brand new. There's so many other telehealth companies, and Teledoc's one of the first ones that comes to mind. And that thing's been doing extremely well. Whereas GIX has kind of been all over the place. And if we look at the chart, you can see that this is really, really choppy. It looks as if it could be extremely risky. The reward could potentially pay off if all goes well. But in my opinion, and I know that this sounds probably like a little bit of a cop-out, but go with Teladoc. I mean, it's just started to move up. The chart actually looks nice and organized. And yes, I understand it's $200 versus $10, but the quality of the stock, the quality of the company, you're not going to be risking as much. And the upside here is actually quite high. So I think that Teledoc's probably going to be a better play. You want to take on a little bit more risk than GIX. Sure, it's just fine. But if you're going to ask me if I'm going to go over one or the other, I'm going to go with Teladoc every time. If you're looking at this, it looks like it does have an established support at $10 flat, but it's just all over the place. This thing's just gone crazy. So just be careful.
Next question, Monty Bucks. What do you guys think of SRNE and with the DARPA news?
SRNE, I don't know about the DARPA news all that much. I will say that the chart looks great on this thing. I know I've heard about the news on this, but it doesn't seem to have really moved the needle a whole lot. I would just look at the chart and say to myself, okay, what makes sense here? I'm looking at 855 as a potential area for resistance, that if it breaks over this, we could see a nice continuation, perhaps up to $12 per share. So that's a really, really good upside on this thing. But again, be careful. This is low price for a reason. They got a lot to work through, and this is something to be really careful about.
All right, next question. Jason Toscano, what's going on? Young G.
What up, my man?
Favorite sector for 2021, not EV. Fat Man Zoom. So he asked me this, but I want you to answer this too.
Yeah.
Sort of in line to what you said before. I think healthcare. I would say my favorite sector next year is going to be healthcare, or what I'm be looking at is healthcare.
Yeah.
It's only up like 10, 12% this year. You said, you took the words out of my mouth. I love Teledoc, but I think with the vaccine, the main distribution is going to happen in 2021. I think that that sector is going to see a really big boon, especially with this administration. So that's the one I would pick.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be remote work, anything remote work related. I think people are underestimating that we are just scratching the surface with this, even though we've seen amazing growth from Zoom and Adobe. DocuSign, CrowdStrike just announced some amazing earnings. All these companies lifted their outlook for 2021, and there's a reason for that, because they understand that this isn't going away whether there's a vaccine or not. And so I'm just super excited to see how remote work develops and continues to become more accepted for the long term, for permanent use. And so I'm looking for remote work sectors to continue to roll here.
You'll also see us talking a lot about online. I didn't want to, an easy one would be online gaming.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm most excited about, but I feel like that was cheating. You're going to see us talking about all of that, but I wanted to give you something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Cannabis Amadi, what's going on? Hello, Brad and Fat Man. Is it a good idea to exit my position on Zoom on Monday until after Thursday's vaccine approval, just in case it gets beat down another 10 to 15% on that news? Been in it since $70.
Oh my God, bro! I would not sell this. No.
If you're in it $70, definitely.
If you've been in since $70, no. I mean, if you've been in since $70 and you haven't sold a dime, maybe. But you know, if you've been in since $70, first of all, congrats to you. God damn, man. You know, if I'm looking at this and they come out with vaccine news, I'm not really bothered by it all that much. If you're in for a short-term swing or something like that, then yes, perhaps. But if you've been in since $70, clearly you're in this for the long haul. And there's not one shred of me that would be worried about vaccine news on Zoom, especially when 2021 looks quite bright for Zoom. They raised their outlook as well. No worries with Zoom here as far as I'm concerned.
I would say my issue, and yeah, if you've definitely been in, like we said, never hurts to take some off the table, especially if you just want to let it run, take some off the table and then let it run, and who cares what it does.
Yeah.
I don't think Monday's the day. I think maybe Wednesday towards the end of the day, maybe Thursday morning. Because going into Friday, if it does get approved, yeah, it could have a hit on Friday. And Friday is also a sell-off day. So I wouldn't be mad at you, because I think there could be potentially a move. If it gets up to like 440 during the week, going into Wednesday, Thursday, that might be a good time.
Yeah.
So, but you're in a great position. I don't think any way you go is going to.
Incredible job on that trade.
Next question, Lenny Z1, what's going on? Tesla, you guys see negative divergence as well with momentum dropping?
So for this, you know, I'm looking at, and I'm guessing you're talking about potentially RSI. So I actually have RSI pulled up here on Webull. I don't really necessarily see any kind of negative divergence at all on this thing. I actually see this as a potential bull move if we can get this sustained up above $600 a share. We just got news on Friday after hours that GM, their Cadillac dealers, if you guys caught one of our previous live streams, we were talking about this, or no, I think it was, we were talking about GM or Ford or one of them. Fat Man Zoom, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We were talking about how GM basically approached their Cadillac dealers and was like, you know, hey, you can either move with us in this EV world, or you can take, you know, anywhere between 300 to over $1 million buyout, and you're just going to go on about your business. But we're going to be moving into the EV space as far as Cadillac's concerned. We want you to be a part of it, but if you don't want to be, then we're just going to give you cash and we'll send you on your way. 150 Cadillac dealers said, no thanks, we'll take your money, which is a huge deal. And I think that this bodes in a really good favor with Tesla. So obviously the S&P 500 is the top of everybody's mind, but this is just another example of how Tesla's moving into this market and GM's just trying to play catch up here. So I think that Tesla's, I'm still remain bullish on there. I think there's potential for a pullback here and there, but I don't know if I would be bearish on it at all.
Yeah, I mentioned it last week, maybe not the most popular thing to say. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a sideways move leading up to the 21st. So this week, I wouldn't be surprised if it was sideways. Not saying that it won't run up, but if you see a pullback, I'm not worried about it. But so I think there's still room to run. I think 600 eventually will be the support that we doubt it'll revisit. But I'm leaning towards more of a sideways move going into like the 17th. And then from there, I think we're going to see a consistent run through
Yep.
the 21st.
I agree.
Next question we have Mad Dix. What's up? That's not the full name, but I've shortened it. I hope you're okay with it. Mad Dix sounds right. Fastly, what do you think about it? Will it run up short term, and is it a hold long term?
Yeah, so Fastly had some good news that there's potential for them to be bought out by Zscaler, maybe? I don't know. Was it Zscaler? It was one of them. One of the bigger companies potentially is buying out Fastly, and I cannot think of
Cisco.
Oh, you know what? It was Cisco. I'm sorry. Yes. So it was Cisco. There's potentially rumors flying around that they could be bought out by Cisco. Fastly could be bought out by Cisco. So this made a huge move up to almost back to $100 a share, but didn't quite get there on Friday. Actually ended up selling off and coming back down to 88. Look, I have said that I love Fastly since April. That hasn't changed. This whole TikTok BS that's been going on with Fastly has just been that. It's been BS. It did need to come back after it went all the way up to $136 a share, but that hasn't changed the fact that I love Fastly and the company and what they have going on. The fact that Cisco's considering buying them, I think only continues to add value to Fastly and Cisco. This could be another marriage where we look at something like this and are like, man, remember when this happened? Kind of like when Salesforce bought Slack. I think this is going to be another merger just like that, a perfect marriage for both of them. This is going to be huge for both companies, Cisco and Fastly. I like it a lot. We could see this move back up to $100 a share, especially if those rumors are true.
Totally off topic. I agree with what you say. I really like Fastly. But I think this brings up something that we haven't talked about, and it's been on my mind. You remember when NVIDIA announced that they were acquiring ARM acquisition company?
Yeah.
We haven't talked about that in a while, but when they said it, one of the things I kept pointing out was like the deal never officially went through, like it wasn't approved. And so NVIDIA's kind of been off the radar for a while, not really doing too much. We love the company.
Yeah.
And I think we need to start talking about it again, because I think we need to get ahead of the curve with it, because we both think it's going to go through. I don't think there's any issue about that. But I think that people are starting to forget about it, fade away, and it really needs some sort of catalyst. But I just wanted to bring that up, because that everybody forgot about that acquisition and everybody acted like it was a done deal. And clearly, I mean, that was back in mid-September. So
it's crazy that it's been that long already.
Yeah. Eldon Rudy, what's going on? Thinking of entering in eBay around 52.50. Looks like it has a support at $50. What say you?
I think that if I look at this, I'm looking at $50. I would agree with you. I think that $50 is a very clear support for this thing. eBay isn't my favorite e-commerce type stock. I would much rather go after something like Shopify. And yes, you can argue that the price difference is incredible, but I think the potential for percentage gains here, I know this sounds crazy, but you look at something like Shopify or Etsy, they are just so much further ahead of the curve here. eBay's never really figured out quite how to pivot. And you look at Shopify, we've been talking about Shopify being a buy down in the mid to low $800 range after its recent pullback. Now going back up over 1,000, we could see a huge move. The Santa Claus rally is still in play here, and I think that Shopify could move. Etsy is another one. These are all companies that I like better than eBay, but you know, as far as confirmation on your technical analysis, yes, I would agree.
All right, next question we have from Israel Vasquez. Spirit Aerosystems, SPR, has been on a huge tear this past week. Should I add on or sell out in case it goes back to the $32 to $34 range?
Spirit was quite a gem this last week, and we called it to a T. Fat Man Zoom actually brought it up way back into the teens. Once the Boeing and Max Air stuff was back in play, it was very much on my radar. So if you guys are looking for an alternative to Boeing, Spirit Air Systems is definitely that. They were a spinoff of Boeing and actually construct all the fuselages along with other parts for Boeing and other companies as well. They just got word that Ryanair is going to be buying MAX 737s. I'm sure we will start to see more companies fall in line, especially those companies that are in China. And so for Spirit, I actually ended up selling out of this, but I just, my stop loss got tripped on Friday when it came back down to the $40 range after being into this in the low 30s. It was a shorter term swing trade for me, but I think there's still potential for this to go absolutely much higher. I think we could see 100% gains out of Spirit Air Systems if we continue to see the ball rolling down the hill like we've seen with orders coming for the 737. So for me, if I'm looking at the chart here, I ended up stopping out. I'm looking at another possible re-entry here around 36.50. If it retests that support there, if by some chance it breaks down below that, I'm looking for it again around $34 a share. But I like Spirit a lot. Definitely plan on being back into this one relatively soon.
You know, I try to be like the representative of the people because I'm more of a new trader than, you know, not as seasoned as you. I'm not a pro.
Yeah, I won't say you're new. You're pretty well versed too.
I'm not you.
Right.
But I feel like I can understand what they go through. And one of the things I noticed that I had to get over, that I see a lot of traders do, and even traders that have been in it for a minute, don't be afraid of the run. Right? It's like when it's finally, you'll hold on to it forever. You'll let it just drop down to the ground. But then the moment it starts running, you're like, I got to get out. I got to take profits. Don't be afraid of the run. Look at the trend. And I don't think, and now listen, short-term, long-term, if you're flipping it, if your loss gets tripped, definitely lock in your profits. But like Brad's still in it. Like, even though he tripped, he's trying to get in it. He's still bullish on it.
Yeah.
Like, I think this has a lot of room to run. I think this has a lot of movement. And remember, stocks pull back, right? They go up and down. So just know your supports and resistances. If you do want to get out, I think you're getting out to get back in. So don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of a couple percentage points moves, especially if this thing goes through on Friday. Airlines are going to be a key beneficiary. If the stimulus goes through, airlines are going to be a key beneficiary.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, for me, it was just, I knew how hot that SPR had gotten. So I ended up setting a stop because I wasn't going to try to give back all those gains, especially if selling started to accelerate. So I definitely plan on being back in Spirit, and I'm 100% bullish on this thing. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this thing double within the next 12 months.
Yeah. Will Hopley, opinion on Airbus. I see it as a long-term hold for hydrogen-powered flight and a recovery stock.
I think it's a great one. You know, it's a competitor of Boeing, and I think that they're definitely in the running there. Not quite as good of a company, but you could make the argument that, well, Boeing has been kind of in shambles over the last 2 years, and that I would agree with you on that. But I don't necessarily see Airbus kind of taking over a whole lot. Boeing employs 2 million people. So, you know, I think that Airbus definitely one that could eventually move as well.
Yeah. You know, I think all this boils down to is the stocks that Brad and I talk about. They're stocks that we've done research about, due diligence on, and that we like. But really the industry is what we're talking about. Airlines, I can make an argument for Spirit Airlines, for Delta, for Southwest. Find the one you like. And so I think somebody can make a compelling argument for Airbus. I think it's down still 26% year to date. So if that's the one you like and you've done your due diligence, I think it's a fair play.
Yep.
Next question. GMNV, new crew member, Afria, ticker symbol is APHA, recently purchased Sweetwater Brewing. Could this help them get into cannabis game in the States?
Potentially. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be something that is the end all be all for them, but I think it could.
Next question is from Anton. What's going on, Anton? I must say, I love seeing the regulars, the familiar faces. We got so many familiar faces.
It's awesome. The Chaos Crew cult is Anton, real, people.
What'd you say?
I said the Chaos Crew cult is real.
Yep. So what are you waiting for? If you're ready to join, just join. I know you're right on the fence. You want to just jump in. Just jump in. It's $4.99. What do you got to lose?
We're going to give you a free Tesla share. You know, you're going to be entered in to get a free Tesla share once we hit that 1,000 mark, and we're pretty darn close. We had some people drop over the weekend because I think it's beginning of the month and, you know, billing, but we're so close. So if we get to that 1,000 member mark, you guys will be entered in to win a free Tesla share. You also get the daily watch lists, access to the public portfolio, private live streams, all that good stuff by being part of the Chaos Crew. Hit the join button, or there's a link in the description as well if you can't find it there.
So Anton's question is about one of your favorite stocks, Square. Got a position in Square in at 207. Is it a good hold?
It's a great hold. I think that Square makes a really nice run. There's so many good things I could tell you about Square, but we just don't have the time for it. But I would say that 207, in my opinion, is probably a bit high. But, if you're looking to dollar cost average in, and if we just go back and look at the chart here, you're looking at dollar cost average in, $200 has been an incredible support for Square. I think that if it does happen to dip back down there, it's worth adding to. But I think that we could see Square getting up to an upwards of $250 a share by the end of January.
Nice. Bro, that is all we have for the questions, not for the football.
This is awesome, guys. So we have upwards of around 700 folks hanging out with us tonight. We certainly appreciate it. If you give us a thumbs up to help support the channel. And if you're new, if you're visiting for the first time, first of all, welcome. We're happy that you're here. We're happy that you stumbled across us. Hit the subscribe button if you guys want to see more of this. We're going to be talking about Airbnb tomorrow, DoorDash. That's going to be the topic for tomorrow. We're going to put out a special video for you guys as far as that's concerned to make sure to get you prepared for that. We wanted to make sure that we're getting to the questions for Stockwatch Sunday, so that's why we kind of made that a side topic for tomorrow. We also have, obviously, the Moores Act that we're going to be going live for this week, the stimulus. What else we got this week? There's so many things going on.
Yeah, so the Moores Act, which is the cannabis bill, we'll talk about on Tuesday. The vaccine is on Thursday, that conversation. We have the IPOs. One thing I want to mention to you guys, and I'll probably be bringing this up towards the end of the year, sort of a side note, think about strategic tax planning. So we're not going to tell you how to do it, but now's the time you start evaluating your positions. And this is one of the key beneficiaries of being a member. We have member videos we release every Monday just for members. And the one we did last week was actually about taxes for stocks.
Yeah.
And so claiming losses, some of the things you need to think about, the wash rule everybody talks about. You can't just jump in and out. But now's the time to be strategic and to understand, okay, how do I position myself? Also thinking about putting money into retirement to minimize your tax liability. I'm just giving you guys a friendly reminder. If you haven't talked to your tax strategist, set up a meeting, be prepared. You got a couple weeks to prepare, set yourself up, and potentially you may need to buy some stocks or you may need to sell some stocks. So now's the time to start doing it. We'll get into that further, but become a member and you can have access to those member videos and you can get some information on the tax strategy type of thing. So
good stuff.
Football. You ready?
Yes, let's do it.
So last week, we were both right on our picks. So you had picked the Packers. I had picked the Seahawks. Packers won 41-25. Seahawks won 23-17. So we both won there. This week, we have Bills versus, we have a lot of games.
Yeah, we do.
Broncos Chiefs tonight.
God.
Washington football team, Steelers tomorrow, Bills 49ers tomorrow, and Ravens Cowboys Tuesday.
First of all, let's just have a moment of silence for the Broncos tonight.
Why?
Because they're going to get murdered.
They are going to get murdered.
So, which one? So I guess I'll just go with the Ravens Cowboys game. I'm going to go Ravens 35-21 Ravens. They're going to have a bounce back game. Calais Campbell's back. Lamar's back. It's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to beat their ass by more than that.
Probably so.
To be honest. Yeah, I don't see the Cowboys doing anything. The Bills, the Bills 49ers. Man, the Bills, they're legit.
Yeah.
They're legit. I want to pick the Steelers to get upset, but I'm going to go the Bills 49ers. Man, the Bills are the truth and Josh Allen is the truth.
Yeah.
He could end up winning the MVP. I don't think he will, but he could end up winning. So I'm going to take the Bills. I'm going to take the Bills 28-21.
I like that. You know, it's crazy. We could be completely off here. I mean, this weekend in football has been absolutely crazy. The Patriots game, did you see that? I mean, just defensive masterpiece with the Patriots. Unbelievable. Yeah. The Seahawks lost to the freaking Giants. Crazy. Jalen Hurts played. He threw his first touchdown. It's just been a crazy weekend for football. I mean, unbelievable. So who knows what'll happen?
That's why I'm saying, man, the Steelers are on upset alert, man.
They are the worst 11-0 team I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, they are for sure.
All right, guys. That's it. That's it. We appreciate you guys hanging out. We certainly, we just couldn't be here without you. And we got some really good things coming up towards the end of the year. We're going to be in our new studio. It's happening. We got our keys. We got the furniture stuff coming. We got designers coming. So it's going to be awesome. We can't wait to show it to you guys. And make sure that you're hitting that notification bell and for tomorrow's video on Airbnb and DoorDash. That'll be out. And that's it for me. Do you got anything else?
Yeah, just a couple things. Welcome to the crew, John Robert McDowell. Shane Haley, thanks for the donation. Sorry about your Seahawks. But yeah, just last thing I know I keep saying about the crew. Listen, if I didn't get to answer your question, one of the downsides of growth is we have so many people talking and we're sorry we can't get to everything. Go to stockwatchsunday.com, ask a question. If we didn't get to your question, go there. We'll try our best to answer that question. But that's more the reason to join the crew. We do private live streams 3 times a week now where we're just answering your questions. So you're going to get the value there. Be a part of the community. We'll welcome you with open arms when you get here. But that's it. I'm out.
That's going to do it for us, guys. Thanks so much. Appreciate you. B. Smith, Fat Man Zoom.